Namaskar and a very pleasant good afternoon and warm greetings from DELNET Developing Library Network, New Delhi. Distinguished galaxy of luminary speakers of today's panel discussion on citizen empowerment through digital transformation in government, Shri R. Chandrasekhar, former Secretary to Government of India and former President NESCOM, Shri D.P. Nagendra Kumar, Special Secretary and Member CBIC Government of India, Mrs. Devjani Ghosh, President NESCOM, Dr. Neeta Verma, Director General, National Informatics Center, Shri Nagesh Shastri, Deputy Director General, NIC, Professor M.P. Gupta of Modi Foundation Chair Professor, Department of Management Studies, IIT Delhi, the eminent online attendees, including Shri K. Jayakumar, President DELNET, Dr. S.S. Murthy, Vice President, Dr. P.R. Goswami, Treasurer, the other governing board and RSC members of DELNET, the officials from National Informatics Center headquarters at New Delhi and also from other NIC state units across the country, the officials from various ministries and departments of central and state governments, the heads of various institutions, policy makers, librarians, library and information science professionals, technology experts, academicians, educationalists, administrators, officials of CRC Press, faculty members, researchers and scholars, DELNET officials at Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Pune, ladies and gentlemen. I, Sangeeta Kaul, Director DELNET, on behalf of DELNET, extends a very warm, hearty welcome to each one of you for joining us today at the panel discussion from various parts of India and also from other parts of from various other countries. We greatly acknowledge and value the presence of each one of you with us today. It is also an occasion to celebrate today the extraordinary works of the visionary and missionary professionals working relentlessly for digital India, and also the publication of a recently published book entitled Citizen Empowerment Through Digital Transformation in Government, edited by Dr. Neeta Verma, the Director General, NIC, published by the leading global publisher CRC Press from USA in 2022. I have immense pleasure in introducing you all to our distinguished, illustrious panelists who have made immense contributions towards the digital transformation in India and made India a proud, digitally transformed and empowered nation. We have immense pleasure in welcoming Shri R. Chandrasekhar. Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much for acceding to our request and being there with us. We indeed remain grateful to you for your very kind presence with us today. I have immense pleasure in introducing Shri R. Chandrasekhar, who is the Chairman, Center for the Digital Future, Gurugram. He is currently associated with several national and international technology-centric organizations in advisory roles and board positions. As a former Secretary to the Government of India for Electronics, IT and Telecom and President NESCOM, he possesses a unique breadth of expertise and experience both in the government and private sector that covers the entire gamut of the IT and telecom sectors. He was a principal force behind the first national e-governance program in 2006 and was responsible for several extraordinarily impactful e-governance initiatives at the national level. He was a member of the Indian Administrative Service from 1975 to 2013. During the period 1996 to 2001, he was a chairman and MD, APIIC, and concurrently Secretary IT of AP. During that period, he spearheaded all the IT initiatives in the state, including establishing High-Tech City and IIIT and e-governance program. He has received several awards and honors, including the Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in Public Administration, the Distinguished Alumni Award of IIT Bombay, and the Data Quest Pathbreaker of the Year Award. It's a great honor and privilege for us, sir, to have you with us today. Thank you very much for joining us today. We would now like to welcome Shri D.P. Nagendra Kumar, the Special Secretary and Member, CBIC, Government of India. I have great pleasure in introducing our distinguished speaker to our august attendees. Shri D.P. Nagendra Kumar joined Indian Revenue Services in the year 1985 and served in various capacities in indirect tax administration, responsible for administering customs, central excise, and service tax across the country. He was credited for establishing and successfully operationalizing the first large taxpayer unit at Bangalore in the year 2006. He has been involved in several tax administration reforms measures and made representations to Tax Administrative Reforms Commission. Shri Kumar played an important role in designing the structure and institutionalizing audit commissioners under CBIC. He was also involved in drafting the model GST law as part of the law committee mandated by the Empowered Committee of the State Finance Ministers. He also played a very key role in drafting the report on dual control, threshold, and exemptions under GST regime. He is actively associated in training both central and state government officers in model GST law. I'm very proud and happy to share with you that Shri Kumar has also been awarded with the prestigious Presidential Award of Certificate of Appreciation for Distinguished Record of Service on the occasion of the Republic Day in 2009. He is currently serving as a member in charge of GST, Central Excise, Service Tax, and Legal in the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. It is a great honor and privilege for us to have you with us today, Mr. Kumar. Thank you very much for accepting our request and being there with us. We are indeed feel very much honored, with your presence. We have with us today Mrs. Devjani Ghosh, the President NESCOM. I take pleasure in welcoming you, Madam, to today's panel discussion, and thank you very much for sparing time in spite of your very busy schedule and being there with us. I feel greatly honored and privileged to introduce you all to Mrs. Devjani Ghosh, who is the President of the National Association of Software and Service Companies, NESCOM, since April 2018. A veteran of the technology industry, Ms. Ghosh is the 5th president of NESCOM and the first woman at the helm. As a president of NESCOM, Mrs. Ghosh is responsible for establishing new growth area for the technology industry in India and works with the governments and industry stakeholders to establish policies and initiatives that help to accelerate the growth of the sector in India and across the world. With multiple feathers in her cap, before joining NESCOM, she was the first woman to have led Intel India and the Manufacturers Association for Information Technology. She was also the member of the Executive Council at NESCOM. She is a firm believer in the power of technology in enhancing lives and livelihoods, leveraging it for societal good. She was instrumental in developing Think Digital, Think India strategy to support India's digital transforming journey, especially as an enabler of inclusive growth and development. She has been felicitated by the President of India under the auspices of the First Ladies Program, which honors exceptional women pioneers in their respective field areas. She has also been listed in the 100 most influential women in UK-India relations, celebrating women's list. It's a proud privilege for us to have you with us, Mrs. Ghosh, today, and thank you very much for taking our time in being there and gracing the occasion today. I have a great honor and privilege now in introducing you all and having with us Dr. Neeta Verma-Ji, an outstanding, the most renowned technology expert in the country. And it's indeed a great honor for us to have Madam with us today, with the Director General of, as all of us are being fully aware with that she's the Director General of National Informatics Center, a premier technology partner of the Government of India. In her current position, Dr. Verma, as a DG, is spearheading the high-impact digital initiatives and platforms for the Government of India. Under her dynamic leadership, NIC established national data centers at various locations in the country and later launched the first national cloud for government in 2014 to provide state-of-the-art ICT infrastructure to government departments. She has been an active proponent of a cloud-first and mobile-first approach for achieving higher order of efficiency in government services. At NIC, Madam has led the establishment of one of its kind centers of excellence in blockchain, application security, artificial intelligence, and data analytics. She has also guided NIC teams in the development of world-class software products such as e-office, e-hospital, e-procurement, e-auction, and e-transport, and many more. During the COVID-19 pandemic, she was entrusted by the government to manage Arogya Setu mobile application. Under her unparalleled leadership, NIC worked with various national institutions to extend necessary technical advice and the development of systems for pandemic mitigation and control, which is highly, greatly laudable. Madam holds a PhD from IIT Delhi, an executive certificate in digital transformation in government from the Harvard Kennedy School. Her areas of research and interest includes applications of emerging technologies in governance, cybersecurity, data centers. Apart from publishing her research in the national and international journals, she has also co-authored books on national and digital transformation in government. It's a proud privilege for us to have you, Madam, today with us. Thank you very, very much for being there with us and for gracing this occasion. We are indeed much honored. I have immense pleasure now in welcoming Sri Nagesh Shastriji, the Deputy Director General at NIC, at National Informatics Center. On behalf of DELNET and on behalf of each one of us, we extend a very hearty welcome to you, Sri Nagesh Shastriji, and thank you very much for joining us today. Sri Shastri has a rich 37 years of work experience, 33 years, more than 33 years in government, and has been handling ICT support to all departments of Ministries of Finance, including PFMS and e-procurement and artificial intelligence division at NIC. He is also the group head of the personal division in NIC. He has led many large-scale e-governance applications such as e-way bill, e-invoice, PFMS, Central Public Procurement Portal. He holds a BE from Devi Ahilya University and postgraduate diploma in industrial engineering from NITI in Mumbai. It's a proud privilege for us to have you with us today, Sri Shastri, and thank you very, very much for acceding to our request and being there with us today. Thank you very much indeed. I have a pleasure now in introducing you to Professor MP Gupta, who is a Modi Foundation Chair Professor at the head of Department of Management Studies at IIT Delhi. He is known for his pioneering works in the area of e-governance and has been spending significant amount of resources in developing cases, tools, and frameworks to promote e-governance research in the country. These included 30 doctoral theses, 22 sponsored and consultancy projects, co-authored a book, Government Online, and also 2 other edited books towards e-government and promise of e-governance, and more than 200 plus research papers he has to his credit. He has guided production of 14 edited volumes via the International Conference on E-Governance since 2003. Professor Gupta is also steering a European Union funded project on EU-India cooperation platform in future internet and electronic media. He has been involved in several policy-making committees on ICT in the center and state governments in India, and also on the jury of prestigious awards committees. He is a recipient of the prestigious Humanities and Social Science Fellowship of Shastri Indo-Canadian Institute from Calgary in Canada in 1996 and has been a visiting fellow at the University of Manitoba. Conferred with the Best Professor Award in 2012 at Singapore World Education Congress and CMO Asia. It's a privilege for us to have you with us today, Professor Gupta. Thank you very, very much for taking out time in being there with us, and we greatly acknowledge your presence with us. We are much pleased to inform you all that the book entitled Citizen Empowerment Through Digital Transformation in Government, edited by Dr. Neeta Verma and published by CRC Press USA in 2022, gives insights into the path-breaking journeys undertaken by the highly committed and mission-oriented NICians over decades, which have revolutionized the citizen-centric digital government services landscape in India. The most inspiring and success stories of digital transformation in government are captured in 14 chapters spread across 267 pages, which highlights the evolutionary journey of digital solutions in every sector of development, from agriculture, education, health, transport, rural development to judiciary, legislature, and many others. Each chapter covers the dimensions of a sector or a product using case studies and depicts the transformational journey of the digital ecosystem enabled by the right mix of technology, rollout strategy, and capacity building. The book is recommended for digital transformation experts, academia, researchers, public sector officials, senior government leadership, technology enthusiasts, and public policy experts. Each one of us would like to congratulate the brain and the spirit behind the publication of this wonderful title, Dr. Neeta Vermaji, and the contributors of various chapters for providing an excellent opportunity to the readers to experience the formative, transformative, and empowering journey. It speaks volumes of their lifelong commitment for harnessing technology as people's technology for transforming lives. We would now like to show you a glimpse of the book release function, which was held early this year.
We now request the Honorable Minister to release the book, Citizen Empowerment Through Digital Transformation in Government. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the release of the book by the Honorable Minister, Citizen Empowerment Through Digital Transformation in Government. It takes us through the 4-decade-long transformational journey of various key sectors in India where ICT has played a major role in reimagining government services to citizens across the country. It touches upon the emergence of the National Informatics Centre as a premier technology institution of the Government of India and its collaborative efforts with the central state governments as well as the district level administration to deliver the best-in-class solutions. Inspiring and informative, the book is filled with real-life transformation stories that have helped to lead the people and the Government of India to realize their vision of a digitally empowered nation. And this book has just been released by the Honorable Minister at the occasion of the NIC Tech Conclave 2022.
We would now like to approach Dr. Neeta Verma-ji, the editor of the book. Madam, we would like to know what was the inspiration behind writing this book and how do you see the role of this book in any discussion around the use of technology for social good? We would really feel privileged to hear from you.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Its genesis is very, very interesting. In NIC, we have a tradition of, I interact with all the officers who are superannuating in the particular month that's been following. And during this interaction with these officers who are superannuating, they kind of share their experiences. We also look forward suggestions that further improvement or new initiatives. Sometimes often I realize that these people had such interesting stories to tell, that how did they really went through the IT transformation journey and how was it initial days, how few things failed and few things succeeded, how sometimes a small intervention from any government officer, senior government officer, really changed the things around. And then I realized that, and many of these officers have, spent about 20, 25 years, some 30 years doing IT in a particular sector, in finance or in agriculture. And many of them are going to superannuate in the next 4 to 5 years. So I realized that if we do not document this information, this is really going to be, all this knowledge, institutional knowledge is going to get lost somewhere. People have published some papers here and there, but they've been random papers in different journals and all. Nowhere we had any comprehensive narrative of the whole thing. That is how, while having this concern in one of 2 such meetings, we realized, let's try and document this kind of thing. Then one of my colleagues gave an idea, instead of putting into any publication, why not we make it a formal book out of it, so that it reaches not only the people in Indian government whom we interact with or who we know, but anybody and everybody should be kind of. So as you've said, even the practitioners, researchers, academicians, they should also be, so that they can really leverage this information and then also come forward with more valuable research or more valuable findings out of it. So these were the some kind of, this is how the whole genesis came. And it took us, and it is about 40 of my senior colleagues who have really helped us in publishing. We have 14 chapters, and 13 chapters out of that are related to each sector of development, and as you said, agriculture, education, and so forth. While writing this book, we had initially writing these chapters, we had lots and lots of sessions, and we realized, how do we do? So there are 2-3 things which are very unique to each chapter. One, if you see in every chapter, it really captures almost 3 to 4 decades of journey of IT in that sector. It kind of narrates that how, as technology has moved, or as different initiatives came, like when Chandrasekhar sir joined, he gave us, I still remember those meetings where he kind of moved our perspective from thinking automation or efficiency of a government functionary to giving service to the citizens or an end user. Then we had internet proliferation, then mobile and all those. So how each of this sector has adopted and really change their strategies as new technologies got available. That the whole ecosystem in terms of mobile and data penetration kind of began in the country. So that's one aspect which it is covering. Second thing is, in all these narratives, citizen has been focused that how these various initiatives of the government or digital platforms which got built over this time, how have they helped citizens, how the life used to be prior to this, and how is it convenience today. So therefore, the focus is transformation with empowering citizen at the center of it. And I really like to take this opportunity to thank you for organizing this kind of an event. And I'm truly delighted to have such eminent experts. All of them have really contributed in a big way in this digital transformation journey of the government, in where people like Chandrasekhar sir have been at the heart of it. Lot of programs and policies were formulated during his time when he was in the ministry. So I'm truly delighted. And I'm sure all our audience and all are really going to be benefited by the discussion we'll have. We are going to discuss about book, but we are also going to discuss that because today again we are at the cusp where technology is again going through another major transformation, and our ecosystem in terms of mobile and broadband has also really gone. Plus, COVID has given us digital adoption profile also of India has changed to a big way. So how do we leverage this new set of technologies to really connect or empower people who we have not been able to do so far, or the existing ones? How do we make their life more convenient, more convenient, or how do we really empower them so that they can enable them so that they can empower themselves? So I really look forward to hearing views of each one of you, and I'm sure all people connected will also be benefited. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, ma'am, for giving such a wonderful insights about the genesis of this wonderful title, which has been, compiled, and it has been come to the, to the notice of the world. And this would definitely be significantly be contributing and also sensitizing our citizens about the digital transformation which has been undertaken by the government. So thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your wonderful insights. Now we would like to approach our most eminent and distinguished panelist, Sri R. Chandrasekharji. And sir, we would like to ask you that you have been the key architect of the National E-Governance Plan, which was launched way back in the year 2006. And as we are in the midst of 2022 now, what are your views on the fulfillment of your vision, which was envisaged by you in 2006? May we have a pleasure, sir, in requesting you for your inputs.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for that question. But before I answer that question, let me first compliment the NIC team and all the people who did the work that has been chronicled in the book that we just saw being released, and to Dr. Neeta Verma for compiling all of this, for encouraging them, and for editing it. I think it's a great effort, and if this had been done consistently, I think all of us and NIC would have been much richer for it. But it's a wonderful start, so my compliments. All my life as a student, I wondered when I would be able to write my own report card. And your question to me as to what extent, what I had envisaged has been realized is a little bit like, writing your own report card. But I'm happy to do that, and I will try to be as objective as possible. So, actually, the main focus of the National E-Governance Plan and the main thrust of the National E-Governance Plan, which was the first one in the country, was to actually bring the focus of e-governance to the citizen and to focus on the citizen and what the citizen wants of the government. Having spent so many years in the civil service or in the bureaucracy, I was painfully aware of the limitations of government in meeting the aspirations of citizens, especially with the kind of colonial and imperial system that we had inherited, which frankly, I don't think, no matter what we did, would ever have been able to cater to the aspirations of 1.3 billion people. Technology was clearly going to be, if not a the whole solution, at least a very, very important part of the solution. So the whole idea was to focus on the citizen. And the other insight which drove this vision was that, many e-governance projects that I had myself seen and which many of you would have seen had their heyday. They worked well, they were regarded as very successful, they improved efficiency. Then after 2 or 3 years, the people concerned moved here and there, and the project slid into disuse and finally ended up languishing. So from a governance point of view, what we thought at that time and what we thought was that once you focus on the citizen, not only does it make life easier and simpler for the citizen, but it actually stabilizes the projects. Because if you see any of the projects which have provided citizen services to a large number of citizens or businesses which interact with the government, once they are started, it is impossible to slow them down, much less stop them, because that brings an external stabilizing force to the e-governance project, which is, I think, stronger than any kind of administrative or drive from the top. So to that extent, I would say that that aspiration has been fulfilled in the sense that a lot of the e-governance initiatives today are about the citizen and about how to make it easier and simpler. Of course, the fact that today's technologies have made personalization at scale possible, have made it possible to provide personalized citizens to even 1 billion plus people, evidenced by projects like Aadhaar or evidenced by programs like the GST and so on, has been helpful. So in a sense, the progress of technology has also helped. But I think if I was to look back, it's been a mixed bag, because the speed has not been as fast as one would have liked it to be. The spread has been slower than one would have liked it to be. The idea was that all arms of the government and the center and the state should get covered. All interfaces of the citizens should get covered. All interfaces of businesses should get covered. That, it has to be recognized, is still a work in progress. But nonetheless, I think that reorientation was a critical first step, and that has happened. The second aspect where I feel that perhaps there was perhaps a little bit of a shortfall was that if you look at the growth of the private sector, for almost 2 decades, NIC was the lone warrior in the e-governance space. The IT industry itself was not born, in any significant way before the mid-1990s. And it's only from the mid-1990s onwards that it started establishing a presence. And by the time the first e-governance plan was launched, it was becoming obvious that the IT industry of the country was becoming a force to reckon with, was establishing itself globally and so on. So one of the ideas behind the National E-Governance Plan was also to draw in the private sector into the whole implementation process. That did happen to a significant extent. There were certain programs which got implemented, but the participation was still much, much lower than could be expected. And the reason for bringing them in was simply that the scale of the whole problem, the number of projects required and the number of ministries, departments and so on was so huge that it was impossible for any organization, including even NIC, which had so much of experience and expertise. It was impossible for one organization to do all of this. So bringing in the private sector was a no-brainer. Challenges of procurement and capacity constraints in the government in terms of how to bring them in, all of these proved challenges. They were overcome, but not consistently. The private sector in turn, I think, found some of these projects not very remunerative, and they were still looking at the remuneration and aspect of it. There was sometimes a feeling that the best resources of the private sector were actually being allocated to overseas dollar-earning projects and not necessarily to major e-governance projects, which was also one of the concerns. And I think to some extent, the fact that a lot of the industry was looking at this as a revenue stream rather than as an investment to establish their ability to build comprehensive projects from scratch, architect them, design a solution, start with the problem and design the solution, architect it and implement it. Perhaps that took a while also to come in. So overall, net, to cut a long story short, I think the overall objective in terms of change of direction and focus was entirely, I would say, achieved. There have been numerous challenges along the way, which I have mentioned, and we are still on that path. But I do feel somewhat vindicated that direction remains the case today. In fact, it has accelerated with the advent of Aadhaar, digital payments, and digital tax interfaces and so on. So that's my sense of to what extent that vision was fulfilled. I hope it wasn't too long an answer, but I thought I should share my perspective.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much for telling us about your vision, what you had envisaged way back almost 16 years ago, and how about its fulfillment, how NIC has played a very key role in making it realize. And yes, indeed, about the unfinished agendas that always keeps everyone moving, and we have miles to go and not much to do, as you have highlighted. And yes, we are into the best of the hands, the committed hands of NIC, the countries being there, and then they are doing their very best. So thank you so much, sir, for highlighting this. And it's indeed so wonderful to hear from you, the key person who has really had envisioned that 16 years ago. And I think you would definitely be the person who would be the most satisfying one, saying that how you have been able to see that happening now, what you had dreamed about of doing it in India. So thank you so much, sir. Indeed, much thankful to you for sharing your very, very kind inputs about it. We would now like to go to our next distinguished panelist, Shri D.P. Nagendra Kumarji. Nagendra Kumarji, we would just like to request you to unmute yourself. It is, we would like to know from you that GST has ushered in a major reform in the Indian economy. How do you see the usage of the technology in GST ecosystem leading to tax and business reforms in the country?
Good afternoon, everyone. At the outset, I thank NIC for inviting me to be a part of this elite members of the panelists who are addressing on the digital transformation journey in India. Speaking for the tax domain, as Mr. Chandrasekhar put rightly, the Ministry of Finance has been on the forefront in adoption of technology in its tax processes for almost now about 2.5 decades. Taking the history back to 1991, I think when the Central Board of Indirect Tax and Customs asked NIC to design an application for running our backend systems. I think perhaps, as Mr. Chandrasekhar rightly said, those times the government concern was to look at their backend and also generate some sort of an MIS to improve the management efficiency of our organization, not to look at how we will provide services from a citizen-centric perspective. I think our journey started very early, and what we really made the partnership with NIC was much before the GST came in, because GST is known to everybody, and perhaps the technology helped in scaling up the operations to that extent. But way back in 1997, when we started the journey on the customs automation, the customs automation was basically started with an initiative called EDI, with the data interchange happening with regard to the importers and exporters dealing with customs documentation. From there, the journey started in not only doing as a information filing and processing portal. It ultimately led to introduction of a risk-based interventions, what we call it as an RMS, the risk management system, which was a decision support system which scaled up its operations starting from 2006. Today, we are into almost about 16 years of the journey. I must say that today, I think complete decision with regard to the interdictions, whether we do it on import or export, all the panelists will agree with me, and also the audience, that today the customs transactional level processing happens 100% through machine. building the complex business rules and providing an IT infrastructure for providing such a scale of operations. And I must tell you that NIC support has been phenomenal. In the past 16 years, I never heard of even a single minute of downtime of a server, providing real life clearance in terms of global supply chain. Now, what we did with that type of an experience, what we gained in not only enabling a transactional level data processing to a decision support system, we looked at collaborating with other government agencies. Our partner government agencies numbering more than about 15 such agencies, including the DGFT, or for that matter, the FSI, or for that matter, the Drug Controller of India, or for that matter, they're looking at, Archaeological Survey of India. When we integrated all these partner government agencies, the solution provided, as Mr. Chandrasekhar said, was providing for the import exporters a one-stop solution for providing the solution at one end. What we call it as a single window. The SWIFT, introduced in the year 2016, further consolidated our automation of the custom processes. Again, all this cutting-edge level support from the IT came from the NIC. Working with NIC over a period of 2.5 decades made them one. They understood our business processes very thoroughly. For us, communicating with them as the law transformed and the changes happened, I think they were in a position to understand and design the architecture in a very robust manner and in a very timely manner. And when we moved into the GST on 1st July 2017, I must tell you that the entire import also has an element of GST levied on import goods. On the 1st of July 2017, when we introduced the GST, on the part of imported goods coming into the country, the GST calculation was happening in the ICE gate and also the ICS system, thanks to the advanced planning and also there being advanced preparedness what we had. The import-export community didn't have a problem on the day when we transited the GST insofar as the import transactions are concerned in meeting the IGST payments. And that's the level of automation which we had experienced and matured into that. Now, coming to the GST. The GST is a transformational tax reform, no doubt about that, but it's also right to say it's a business reform as well. The amount of formalization which happened consequent introduction of the GST both at the federal and the state level is unparalleled in the history in our country. And today what we are really proud of the automation in the GST is the fact, I think Mr. Devdani will agree with me from the industry side, I think today none of the processes in the GST is manual, be it registration, be it payment of taxes, being filing of returns, claiming of refunds, including the issues which we are looking at in future in terms of the compliance and inspection audit. Everything will happen in an automated platform. The advantage of this is not only bringing improvement of efficiency in the governance model, but also look at the taxpayer. If you look at the numbers in the GST, it's mind-boggling numbers. We have around about 1.34 crore taxpayers registered online in the GST network. We do have the tax returns filing running into several hundred crores of tax returns have been filed in the last 5 years. If you look at the associated activities in the GST and architecture, the e-way bill, which actually tracks the movement of the goods across the country, which is again a flagship program organized by NIC, the team which is headed by Mr. P.V. Bhatt in Bangalore, who has the tax domain expertise for the last 25 years working in NIC, has been a runaway success. Today, it not only brought in a common market in India, it also brought a non-intrusive, self-policing and electronically documented process by which the entire transaction brings in the integrity in the whole process. And the audience will also be aware before the GST, we had checkposts, we had a physical barriers, we had amount of inefficiency in terms of the queuing up in the state borders. All things are past today thanks to the introduction of the e-way bill. Today what happens is that today the economic activity, the barometer for measuring the economic activity on a day-to-day basis is measured by one of the key parameters is how much of the e-way bill generated. The e-way bill generation is not only in terms of the number, it also incorporates critical details like what is the value of the transaction, what is the nature of goods, what is the tax territory, the geography in which the movement is happening, inward, outward. And this has found one of the measurable parameters in the economic survey where Honorable Finance Minister said what we're talking about an agile framework where the policy response to an emerging scenario in the economic sphere is very dynamically tracked. Thanks to that e-way bill process what NIC has supported us. over 260 crores of e-waybill generated in the last 4 years, 11 months is not small achievement. Again, the history repeats. Not a single minute the e-waybill portal has been down in the last 5 years. Credit really must go to the technology support what NIC has done. The latest, the NIC has been also supporting the GSTN in terms of the e-invoice. GST is basically about a tax design which tries to prevent the cascading. That means a tax on the inputs procured, which are being subjected to value add and subject to supply. The tax which are paid on the inputs becoming cast on the product has to be relieved to avoid the cascading, the tax on tax. Now, the input tax plays a very important part, and that's the heart and soul of the GST in a value-added tax reform. Now, the GSTN has been trying its best to ensure that while the ITC for legitimate purposes gets passed on, the misuse of the thing could not only affect in erosion of the integrity of the tax system, but also it could lead to a lot of leakages of revenue. In the last 3 years, since we started using extensive data analytics, thanks to the capture of information in the GSTN on a real-time basis, close to 50,000 crores of tax frauds have been detected. And this detection would not have come but for the technology-enabled architecture. What Mr. Chandrasekhar said is absolutely what we have been validating and demonstrating. That is not the manpower or the resource, the human intervention that has made us detect this much of tax fraud in the country. None in the world, the VAT world, at least to my knowledge, be it in some of the most advanced tax administration, including Australia, or for that matter, UK, or for that matter, EU, the amount of the tax technology leading to the detections and prevention and acting as a deterrence has been one of the greatest learning in the Indian GST to the world at large. And that could not have happened without the technology support. E-invoice, which has been introduced in October 2020, has many dimensions. So far, we have been looking at automating the processes which primarily revolved around the tax returns, the tax registration forms, and tax refunds, etc. E-invoice moves to the next level of automation in terms of capturing the business transaction details in a user-friendly format. The e-invoice is not only helping us in capturing the transaction data, but also provides a user-friendly approach for the businesses to also do their commercial transaction using the e-invoice. The e-invoice, again, NIC has been playing a major role to the GSTN. In the last about 19 months, I think close to almost about 160 crores of e-invoices have been generated. The advantage of capturing this information at a granular level on a near real-time basis is actually what we can estimate today what could be the revenue coming to the government. Put together, the CBDT and CBIC collects almost close to about 24 lakh crore of revenue. And today it's not an exaggeration to say almost the entire tax bucket, both in the direct and indirect taxes, is completely automated. Automation brings in, as I told, not only in terms of the tax efficiency, it also provides a lot of comfort. I think all of us would have understood in the income tax side. If I am earning the tax and the withholding taxes are being deducted periodically as an advance tax, I do get a message in my mobile, an SMS, an alert as to how much tax is lying into my credit. By the time the pre-populated return is prepared and the annual due date comes for filing a return, almost about 90-95% of the tax return gets constructed through the data sources which is being captured very meticulously by the direct tax department. Now, on the GST also, the pre-populated filing of returns is the way forward for us, so that the tax return filing itself doesn't become a burdensome experience for the citizen or the business as such. Now, these are the transformational changes which could happen in the tax domain thanks to technology. And in that technology adoption, I think the real credit should go to some of the technology partners for us. NIC has been one of those leading lights for us. And for me as a person who has looked upon NIC supporting us way back in 1990, was an young officer doing a 486 system, not even at that time internet we have heard of. Today, what we are looking at a complete mobile solutions on a real-time basis. It's a transformational change what has happened. And certainly, I think we would say that in a citizen-centric delivery of services, today the tax refunds are tracked. Talking about the refunds and the tax collection, it is between the center and the states where the GST is being collected the tax settlement, the IGST, which has got a part of the state tax component built into that, and also the destination principle, where each of the transaction category invoice level determines to which state the revenue will belong. That fundal settlement happens on a near real-time basis from the date of filing returns. Assuming that 20th is the due date of filing returns, on 21st morning, we are in a position to settle the states as to how much of the revenue belongs to the states, thanks to technology. I think that is the journey which I think transformation, digital transformation happening in our country. We look forward as we go further, as Mr. Chandrasekhar said, no government system can rest in its laurels. Least we should not become, static. Going forward, we are looking at analytics as a big role to play in decision support system. Today, most of the time we react when an incident has happened or an event has been captured. Going forward, we will look at analytics to predict as to what could be the way in which we should not only manage the compliance, but also provide services depending on the specific segment or the specific geography to which we need to cater to our service delivery. Thank you very much. And once again, I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to take the digital transformation journey in the tax domain. Thank you.
Thank you so very much indeed, Shri Nagendra Kumarji, for giving such a wonderful insights into this unimaginable digital transformation which has happened in the financial sector, especially in the taxation sector, and the commendable work being done by NIC over the years that they have been doing it, developing the state-of-the-art technologies and making it more customer-centric, wherein every citizen feels much empowered, much connected, and they are the direct beneficiaries of all the development which has been happening on the digital India, making this as a reality. And each and every citizen is feeling that they are getting benefited immensely, with this very transparent system of doing, our financial transactions. The financial sector is getting, immensely benefited out of it. And the unparalleled work of NIC, it will always be there, and the golden letters would be written that how India has transformed digitally. The NIC role would always be the first organization, or the first organization one can think about who has immensely contributed in making this happen is nothing else other than NIC. And we indeed, I think each and every citizen of the country remains indebted to the very highly committed professionals who have really made it to happen in a country like India with the kind of a support for each and every citizen. Much grateful to you, Shri Nagendra Kumarji, for giving such a very, very wonderful and inspiring also at the same time. And as you have said that, yes, there are emerging technologies happening and have been implementing other things the way the things have been happening earlier. And we are able to see how it's getting transformed now. This entire transformation, who have seen that how the things have been happening 30 years ago, 25 years ago, and how it is happening now. And we really look forward as more and more technologies, as being mentioned by you, the new data analytics and other things coming in, how an NIC would definitely be the leader who will keep on showing us a way ahead. Thank you very much indeed for deliberating so wonderfully on this. We would now like to move to our next distinguished panelist, Mrs. Devjani Ghosh, a distinguished expert, the president of NESCOM. Madam, we would like to know from you that we have come a long way since the launch of the National E-Governance Plan. How do you think that the industry participation through the public-private partnership has facilitated the delivery of services to the citizens? We would like to, hear from you about your expert opinion on this.
Thank you. And first of all, thank you for having me here, and congratulations, Dr. Verma, to the entire NIC team for coming out with this absolutely wonderful book. And Dr. Verma, I so loved the story you told about how you collected the stories by listening to those officers who were leaving and hearing. I mean, it's just such a wonderful story, and I absolutely cannot wait to read the book. And of course, I know RC very well, and I know how much he has done putting this vision forward. So I was not much surprised by what he said, only inspired, as every time I am when I hear him. Dr. Kumar, your story of the GST journey and transformation is though, it's something when you use it every day, you don't think much about what has gone on behind. And and I think we are in that space because for us, it's there, it works well, and we're using it every day. But it is so fantastic to hear the amazing journey you've been in. And I just want to say that the test of any good technology or any good technology platform is how invisible does it become. If it's something that we don't have to worry about or we don't have to care about, then it's working really well. And I think not just the platforms, but Dr. Verma, I think NIC, you're doing all this magic, you're driving all these great initiatives, but you're doing it in a way that you're almost invisible because it's such brilliant work. And kudos to you and the entire team for that. Respect to the question, the way I see it, I think for us as a country to really leverage the best of technology to ensure we drive the highest impact, because that's all that matters. It's about impact. Industry and government has to be this very seamless partnership in my mind. It cannot be either or, it cannot be sequential, it has to work together. And it has to have a complementary role. There has to be a clear role for industry, there has to be a clear role for government. When I look at the stories of how India is building out the platforms, and I'll borrow this phrase from Nandan Nilekani because I think they best describe them. We are building out the digital highways. Any economy needs very strong road connectivity, highway connectivity. A digital economy needs very strong digital highways that connects every single citizen so no one is left behind, or every single business. I think what India is showing the world how you should build the foundation for a really inclusive digital economy by building these platforms, these public good platforms or e-governance platforms that we are building out. And what I see in these platforms is when the government is building out these platforms, at that level, there's very strong participation of industry. The example that comes to mind is Passport Seva, where you think government, you think TCS in pretty much the same breath, and how they have brilliantly partnered to create this wonderful, seamless service for all of us. So it starts with the partnership to build the technology, and today it is fantastic to see how startups get an opportunity in so many of these government projects. It's the best learning ground for a startup, and they get that fantastic opportunity. And then once it's built out, the beauty of most of these platforms is what you do is you create an ecosystem. Or in simpler words, you create a playground and you allow industry to come and play. It's really up to us how much we want to innovate, how much we want to participate, how creative are we in developing solutions that are based on these platforms. And I'll give you an example of a startup, an Indian startup that I find so inspiring, a startup called Hak Darshak. So there are thousands and thousands of government services available today across India. Center has it, states have it. And most of them are available on your government service portals, etc., etc. But it is still amazing at the grassroots level when you go down to the rural India, how fewer people know about these services and whether they even, I mean, first of all, they don't know where they apply, their applications applies to them or not. Second, they don't even know where they exist. So Hak Darshak is a for-profit social entrepreneur that actually came up with a brilliant model to say, I will work with central and state governments to use technology to create awareness of these services, and I will help citizens who qualify actually apply and get the benefits. And they are now functioning, if I'm not wrong, I was looking at their website, and I think they are functioning in over 24 states. They have benefited over 20 lakh citizens as a startup and some 30,000 plus small micro businesses. They have enabled 5,000 crore plus of benefits to be unlocked. They're available in some 11 or 12, 15 languages. And best of all, they're also creating jobs because they train women to use technology at the grassroots to drive these services. So there are like 20,000 women trained who are self-employed and charging a fee to deliver the services at the grassroots. And this to me is I mean, it's a very simple, but it is such a high impact example of how government and industry comes together to create real value, to create real impact, not just at the high end, but where it matters, at the absolute grassroots level. And I think that's the model we have to continue to strengthen and build out in India. And we did, and I think COVID, the last 2 years of the pandemic, 2.5 years, is another example. Look at healthcare, how industry came around and worked with government to drive remote healthcare services, how industry came around and took financial inclusion. We were doing great when it came to financial inclusion, but how much, the journey we have traveled, and we have the distance we have traveled in just the last 2 years. UPI is now 5 billion plus transactions in a month. It is just amazing. And I think this is the power of industry and government. You cannot unlock the full potential of these services or technology unless the two play together. And I think we have to continue to build an ecosystem of transparency, of trust, fair play, which will enable industry to come and build their businesses on top of what the ecosystems that government is creating.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ghosh, for highlighting. And this is yet another recommendation coming out, of this panel discussion, that there is a need for creating more better synergy between the industry and the e-governance project. So as you have highlighted how the startups are even now working at the grassroots level in order to see to it that the technology reaches. It's already been happening, but yes, in a country like India, a big country, you have got challenges of the language and the various languages, and these startups are now also started doing that. So it's really, we are happy to hear about this new facet, as you said, that there is a need to build up a new ecosystem, a digital ecosystem, wherein better partnerships happening between the industries and these digital models which are there in order to reach out to the masses. We really look forward that NESCOM to do something in this direction in the days to come. Mrs. Ghosh, any plans of yours, to do something in this direction in NESCOM?
We are already very strongly engaged and working with the government on several of these projects, from just driving awareness to building the skill sets required, because I think the biggest challenge ahead of us in the deployment of technology is capabilities. Today, the demand for digital skills is around 8x higher than supply globally. It's a huge gap, and the gap is only going to grow. It's not going to lessen anytime soon. In fact, we expect it to grow in around 20x in the next 2-3 years. India is relatively in a good position that though we still have a gap, we have the shortest gap compared to any other economy. And all this wonderful stuff we are talking about, unfortunately, will not happen if the talent doesn't exist. For NASSCOM, that's priority one. That's job one. We focus with working with government, working with academia to build the talent so that everyone here can build out all the fantastic platforms and services, and startups can innovate and industry can innovate. So I think that is really priority one for us. That's the job one for us, because without that, we are going to have a problem like the rest of the world. But in addition, we are working with several different government departments, and of course, MIT, NIC, etc., to not just drive industry engagement, but awareness at the grassroots level. Also, we have to start thinking about, as these digital platforms and e-governance platforms get built out, how do we ensure that they meet the attributes of security, privacy. It's becoming extremely important. Inclusion. They cannot be an afterthought. They have to go hand in hand. They have to be built into the design stage. And a lot of awareness, even within the government departments, etc., has to happen to ensure these become strong design principles. So those are the areas of focus from a NASCOM perspective.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for dwelling in detail about it, Mrs. Ghosh. Thank you so much indeed. We would now like to go to our next distinguished panelist, Professor M.P. Gupta. And Professor Gupta, we would like to ask you that you have authored a book on promise of e-governance, operational challenges. Would you like to share some thoughts on what the promise of e-governance stands for in the current scenario?
Thank you for inviting me this webinar. Promise is really tremendous. Promise was tremendous, and this is 2022, and National Plan on E-Governance was launched in 2006. So almost 18 years has passed, and the journey has itself proved the promise that was shown in the plan and what we have achieved today. I'll give you a little longitudinal perspective of entire journey, not from any GP, but beginning from war that we had with China in 1962. It was actually after that war we realized where we are lacking, and technology was the one which was seen to be vital then. And a committee was formed. This is called Electronics Committee, and that led to establishment of Department of Electronics. Subsequently, a lot of things happened. So decade of 60, decade of 70, decade of 80, 90, and then subsequent period. Every decade, you will notice there are remarkable, initiatives that is triggered by technology itself. Okay, so you see the birth of NIC itself, it took sometimes in early 70s, and then establishment of ECIL, ITQC, and IT Act, IT. You see, pre-internet and post-internet, there are two unique phases of time. Will discover distinct, impetus of activities that is happening, and so promise, is something that was woven, is met. What I see now here, going forward, NEGP now is reclassified as Digital India program, which has added a lot of things like JAM, Jandan Aadhaar, and mobile. This has really expanded the horizon of reach of the idea of e-governance, promise of e-governance to bottom up line. Okay, and COVID-19, the 2 years past, 2 years tough time actually validated this entire idea, because it was possible for government to reach out to those who are suffering because of this tough time. And but there are a lot of question marks still unanswered, and this is basically and a space we look at that will help us to extend this program into the totality. And obviously bandwidth is the one which is very obvious. We experience once we go beyond Delhi and big cities. Digital literacy is also a very important area, and there are a lot of promise remains to be achieved. Integration of these projects are yet to be realized fully. Citizen engagement is an area which is has tremendous potential. We are still into just looking at participation and seeking feedback, but engaging them into to part of decision making is something we have not thought at all about. Think about single dashboard for a user. User is a businessman, a citizen, is something need of the hour. So there are the areas we worked on, but I think journey has been full of promise and full of excitement. And I think we are looking towards a great time and future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you indeed, Professor Gupta, for sharing your views about it. Now we would like to approach Sri Nagesh Shastriji, the Deputy Director General, NIC. And sir, you have been the witness to the growth and part of development and implementation of various applications in the finance domain, including the public financial management systems, which is also used to facilitate direct benefit transfer for beneficiaries of various government schemes. How do you feel that DBT empowers our citizens? May we have your expert views on this?
Yes, thank you. I've been privileged to be a part of the journey where the financial systems have transformed themselves over a period of time. And beginning with the initial standalone systems and then moving on to web-based and integrated systems, there has been a lot of transformation in these financial systems. The PFMS's predecessor was Central Plan Scheme Monitoring System under the aegis of NITI or Planning Commission, which was known as earlier. It was an essentially fund tracking and management system. So moving on from a fund tracking and management system and then graduating to a system which facilitates direct benefit transfer, PFMS has really taken rapid strides. When government decided to use introduce the DBT schemes, PFMS was the only system which was capable of taking this daunting challenge. And starting from 2014 onwards, it has been successfully implementing DBT schemes. The transfer of payment and the subsidies directly to the beneficiary account, this has been one of the major goals of the government. However, the systems were earlier not geared up to take those challenges. PFMS has facilitated this, particularly in view of its interface with all core banking system of the banks. This has been the USP of PFMS. And the kind of the facilities which PFMS provides for integration of these DBT schemes is substantial. You have interface when the small schemes are to be onboarded with the web-based interface, they can be easily onboarded, where the beneficiary list itself can be created on PFMS. Or in case there are larger systems, for example, PMAY or Manrega, which have their own beneficiary management systems, they can easily onboard because standards have been evolved by PFMS for onboarding of such schemes. So the process related to selection of the beneficiaries, for preparation of fund transfer orders, all these things are done at the external systems end. And once the fund transfer orders are prepared for payment purposes, they are routed through the banks. One important component in this implementation of DBT program has been the validation of accounts. In most of the cases, because these DBT schemes are being implemented through Aadhaar, which is used as a financial address, the verification of beneficiary account is performed before the fund transfer orders are or the payments are released through the PFMS. So that the account of the beneficiary gets credited without much delay, and there is a transparency in the entire system. So the interface of PFMS with 500 plus banks has really played a major role in implementation of DBT programs. And we see now more and more DBT programs onboarding, not only at the central government level, but at the state government level also. Some of the DBT schemes are being onboarded on PFMS, and the states are using the PFMS platform for making the payment to the beneficiaries. In this entire process, what has happened is the PFMS has been able to credit the bank account of the beneficiaries with minimum delays, and the right amount is credited into the bank account of the beneficiaries. So leakage and pilferage, they are totally curbed. This is the greatest benefit which PFMS has brought as far as the payment to the beneficiaries are concerned, and it has really facilitated the beneficiaries in knowing when the payments are being credited and how much amount has been credited, which was not the case earlier. So that way PFMS has really brought transformation in the way the payments are credited to the beneficiary's account.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Shastri, for making us knowing about what happens in the background. Everyone is knowing about most popular PFMS, but we don't really know the intricacies involved, in the back end, that how the systems, have to communicate and what all the nitty-gritties have to be taken care of. Thank you very much. And I think this is an eye-opener for many of our attendees. We just see the final application. We just see, how you're getting benefited, but we don't really are able to comprehend that what all efforts goes in the back end to make it happen. So we once again commend, NIC for the wonderful work and the great work which is being undertaken. And thank you very much for sharing these wonderful insights about the PFMS, especially about the PFMS, which is a very popular among all the masses now. Thank you very much indeed. I would just like to bring to our attention of our distinguished panelists that we are now into the second round. We are starting off our second round, and I'm extremely sorry because of paucity of time. We really want to hear more and more from you because all of you hold so much of experience and expertise, have got the things done, and you have much to say, and we really are also wanting to hear much from each one of you. But because of paucity of time, we just really want, because we have 2 more rounds to go, we just would be like to request all our distinguished panelists, if we can have for 3 minutes each. It is like a rapid fire round. We have a question, and if you can give us your expert opinion about it. And because we also want to keep us at least 5 minutes for our online attendees, if they may like to ask any question to our distinguished panelists, and I would truly be grateful to you for your very, very kind, cooperation on this. Now we would like to approach. We are starting off our second round, and we have yet more 1 round to go, and we are once again going back to Shri R. Chandrasekharji. Sir, our question to you now: the Digital India program has played an important role in establishing the digital ecosystem in the country and promoting the mass adoption of technology-enabled solutions. Going forward, how do you envision the role of technology in sectors such as agriculture, health, education, and many more, which covers a large segment of our Indian society? May we have your opinion, sir?
Yeah. Well, I'll try to be brief. One of the distinguishing characteristics of the trends that we are seeing today is Uberization across segments, where all the elements of a particular service are disaggregated and connected through technology, so that individuals or organizations provide one particular aspect and the whole chain of supply and demand is brought together. The second common thread that we see is in a country like India, especially, where there are varying levels of income, there are varying levels of literacy, there are varying levels of digital literacy, there are highly uneven spread of affordability, etc. Phygital is something which works better, where it's not just a technology solution, but a technology solution with an extended human arm, which enables the technology to be connected to people who may not have a PC or a laptop or be able to go online themselves. This also has the added advantage of creating jobs which don't require a high level of skills. So what I envision, the way that the technology could play a role in sectors like agriculture, healthcare, and education is applying these concepts of Uberization, phygital, to each sector. If you take agriculture, for example, supply of input, seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, supply of labor, supply of even sophisticated services like drone services for assessing pest attack or spraying of pesticides. All of these can actually be disaggregated, handled by people or organizations who do that well, and then connected through technology. With a local entrepreneur business entity which connects it to people, the way the CSCs, the common service centers, have done in different villages. It's entirely possible to think of similar arrangements in education and other sectors. I also want to add again the role of platforms. Ms. Devjani referred specifically to the platforms and the digital public infrastructure. Clearly, that is going to play an important role, and the role of digital public infrastructure in terms of platforms and protocols and standards which integrate the whole ecosystem becomes important, because these are vital platforms which integrate both the government and the private sector from the perspective of the citizen. So whether I go to a government hospital or a private hospital, it is such a healthcare platform, for example, which enables me to seamlessly transfer my records or do a part of the service in a government facility and a part of the service outside. So these platforms are critical, and there's a need to think through the organization structure for these platforms, and how these can be, how government programs can be scaled, what are the scalable business models to allow both to the private sector and the public sector to flourish on the same platform, because scale can come only through the government or through a business model. Otherwise, we can't get it. So I think these are the elements that I feel will transform these sectors, which are so critical for society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for highlighting yet another facets, aspects, the humanization of the technology. And I think we have to keep on reminding our own selves that the human technology is a technology which will always remain relevant. It will never get obsolete. And we all feel, fully motivated and inspired by the digital transformation in the country. And I think each one of us have a greater responsibility to contribute towards that. The humanization of technology has been pointed out, sir. Thank you so very much for sharing yet another, very wonderful views upon this. We truly, sir, are grateful to you. Quickly, we would like to now move to Shri BP Nagendra Kumarji, sir, requesting you to, we would like to, sir, know from you, sir, that going by the motto of CBIC, Desh Seva Kar Sanchay, that is tax collection in service of the nation, what are your views on the role of simple and transparent tax collection system to spur the country's economic growth and to facilitate ease of doing business? May we have your opinion, sir?
Thank you. The point, basically, what we are looking at in a tax administration is twofold. One, improve the compliance by constantly leveraging technology to bring efficiency. The second is basically towards the taxpayer in terms of providing taxpayer services. Now, technology comes in a greater way insofar as the second part is concerned, as the previous speaker has mentioned about it. Now, the taxpayer services involve a bouquet of activities which we do normally on that, starting from simply providing a dynamic website where a dissemination of information, including what are the latest changes, what we have brought in terms of the rate changes or notifications, or the process or procedures notified in a very transparent and a timely manner. Most of us in the taxes administered in the country today are self-assessed. So when the self-assessment is the norm, I think empowering and enabling them with all the required information in completing that process becomes a sine qua non for ensuring that they not only carry out their assessment correctly, but also avoid any amount of unintended consequences that may arise on account of the, a gap in terms of meeting those obligations. So that is where I think when we look at the citizen-centric services, it's the question of providing the requisite information, knowledge, and also handholding. For example, a tax like GST today, I think when Mr. Nirjani spoke about that, we had a lot of pain points during the initial period of the GST for not only the tax technologies to stabilize in terms of the challenges what we faced, because mind you, when we introduced the GSTN was just in the process of not even awarding a tender to Infosys for actually carrying out the work. It was like building a craft when it's on sale. It was that much of a challenge in terms of the time constraints with which we need to do that. Now, when we did this, a lot of learning happens in terms of that. And the biggest credit should go in so far as this area is concerned, where I'm talking about the digital transformation, is the citizen. The absorption of the tax technology into the day-to-day process. I think that's where we salute the Indian resilience in terms of adopting. Today, if I am asking a person to upload a JSON file in terms of whether it is an invoice or it's a return, it's a question of converting an Excel file into a JSON file and uploading it. Not how many people? It's close to almost over 85 lakh people in a month in a seamless manner, 3 times interface with the tax portal and upload the information. and that this absorption is also a mandate on us to ensure that the taxpayers are continuously engaged with, associated, assisted, and guided and supported. And many a time their feedback becomes a guiding light for us how further to go ahead in simplifying the processes. To that extent, I think I would say yes. I think the transformational tax reform would not have happened but for the technology. But more so, I think I also have to say that the adoption of the tax technology has also been phenomenal in this country, thanks to the processes made easier and simpler to the enabling technology which is available to us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much indeed. And yet another, I think, each one of our attendees also, we must like to, congratulate them for adopting the technologies which are there in place, as you have said. Very much it's a citizen centric, but the citizen also has to play their own responsible role in adopting and embracing those technologies. And you have very much rightly, very aptly, sir, you have pointed it out, this fact. Thank you so very much. This is yet another human facet that we also have to keep on reminding ourselves all the time, that the technologies are in place. But yes, it's the human facet which will always be the most determining factor, in getting it implemented at the ground level. So thank you very much, sir. Quickly would like to now move to Mrs. Ghosh, requesting you, ma'am, could you please unmute yourself? And herein comes a question for you, Mrs. Devjani Ghosh. How can the public and private sectors leverage cutting-edge technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and data analytics to improve the quality of services to citizens? Madam, can we have your expert views on this?
It's not about the technology, it's about the problem you want to solve. So the approach should be for public and private sector to consultatively figure out what are the key problems that you want to solve and what are the outcomes that you want to get. Leveraging technology today in India is not the problem. We have the talent, we have the ecosystem, we have all the building blocks in place to ensure that once we know what the problem and the desired outcome is, we can do the magic. But I think the challenge today that a lot of us face is really identifying what the problem is, because a lot of the time we get into technology projects for the sake of it. And I think that's what creates a lot of wastage. Because technology is just a tool. We have to figure out how to use it, where not to use it. I mean, I'm amazed at the number of projects I see where people talk AI when there is no role for AI in that project. So it's very important for us to figure out what is the problem, and there are some big problems to be solved. The UN has called this the decade of action, because if we don't figure out collectively how to solve for global warming, how to solve for food crisis, we are going to run out of time. So I think there's some fantastic problems out there for us to solve. And if we can leverage the full power of industry and government in India to solve for these problems, and we have proven success, so there's no reason why we cannot, we can create a framework that pretty much sets the tone for the rest of the world. So I believe this is a fantastic opportunity for India to lead, because we are moving from innovation to application, and India has proven success in application at scale. And I think this is the opportunity for us to lead the world, to show how technology can be used for the biggest impact. How do we make the biggest difference with technology?
So very much, we have to do more introspection to see how technology can be more impactful, and already it's impacting the lives. But yes, in more ways, we can have many more deliberations, to think about it. Thank you so very much for sharing your views about it. Now we would like to go to Professor MP Gupta. Professor Gupta, requesting you, I believe you are, experiencing some issue right now. But even if in audio, yes, thank you very much. Professor Gupta, we would like to know from you that technology is increasingly bridging the digital divide. How do you think technological advancements are driving citizen engagement and empowering the citizens, particularly those at the bottom of the pyramid? Maybe have your opinion on this, Professor Gupta. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. So yeah, so I'll talk about citizen engagement first. There are three aspects of citizen engagement. One is e-participation. They participate. So what I mean that they are able to give feedback about certain things that we want to have their feedback, opinion, grievances. So we have plenty of grievance portals. Also, we receive feedback on MyGov portal has been used liberally to capture on this dimension. But other two dimensions like co-creation and actually being part of decision-making exercise, these two things are not happening at all, and they're not also made part of Digital India agenda as such. What I mean by co-creation is that when you are consuming certain things, for example, designing a certificate, high school certificate. Now there are 30 boards or more than 30 boards of state governments. Every state will have different format of certification. 10 plus 2, even graduation. There are plenty of universities. They have different format. It is okay if it is fine, but involving them into to design how they would like to see the certificate that will serve the larger purpose is something could have been done. There are several examples where co-creation, involving them into creating what we do by expert committee or a few group of people, is it is going to open up larger participation, also improve quality. Third dimension is decision making. I was struck by one event that happened in 2014 or 15 when Aam Aadmi Party government was formed, and Arvind Kejriwal had less number of not adequate number of legislatures. So Congress Party offered to support him to form a government, and he was in dilemma because he fought against both Congress and BJP, and then. And that was the time he went to his people asking him to SMS and give feedback whether should he form government or not, and eventually he ended up forming government. I was struck by this entire idea involving people directly to decide formation of a government. It was a very realistic idea in my assessment. This is the way we can somehow think to involve people when we want to take a call on major decisions. What is happening? There are hierarchy in the government. There are power defined, and there are also committees supporting those executives to take decisions. Ultimately, it is the structure. There is no role for common man to really have a direct say in that. Now, Digital India. See, there are two aspects. One is a reactive response, and one is proactive response. Pre-internet time, we had no such a fantastic landscape, digital cyberspace where proactive strategy would have been possible. So we remain confined to designing policies based on experiencing certain things, and you react to that. But today we can be more proactive. Citizen engagement offers ample opportunity to be proactive, and proactive to the extent, for example, Prime Minister often says, I think I heard him in 2016 or sometime then from Redford, probably when he was launching Digital India program, and he said, no, you don't need to go to any government office. आपकी भारत सरकार आपके हाथ में नहीं, showed mobile phone. So entire government is in your hand, and it is happening actually virtually. But it is one-way track where we are deciding what actually we want via government officers or government representatives. Sorry, people representatives. So that reverse track is very sketchy, and it has immense potential to achieve. In fact, e-panchayat program and grievance portals, they are serving bare minimum purpose. In fact, I also remember, I think during Mr. Chandrasekhar's time, there was a bill called Electronic Service Delivery Bill. I don't know what has happened to that. It was also a good idea to impose, certain charter, certain punishment over, delivery of services, and that was something, good idea, but it couldn't happen. Co-creation is an idea that I read from Singapore business model of involving people into government. Also, US, I watched, there was a portal where they opened up major government projects which are problem-centric projects, and there is a less clarity about solution. And there is a challenge that challenge that go.us, and where they invite people suggestion also project to bid project by giving solution that involves some certain investment as well. So these are new ideas now could have been brought into to building the program. Coming to citizen empowerment, I remember India key vision has got one clear vision about digital empowerment. Now, in 2015, I remember Prime Minister said, 1 lakh crore budget for digital India in the next 5 years' time. That 5 years' time is over now. Now, if you do some audit, we are, we are required to have answer to very fundamental question about digital empowerment. Whatever we have done via digital program, have we been able to empower children? There are psychological dimensions, there are social dimensions, there are physical dimensions. We certainly have achieved something, but there is no proper effort to create indices of measuring those that indicate from 0 to 1 scale or 1 to 10 scale, empowerment has been reached to say from say 1 or 2 in 2015 or 2006 when NGP was launched to somewhere 7 or 8. So this was one attempt. I started with my one of my PhD scholars that is yet to be completed. But there are many dimensions of citizen empowerment, giving good access to services, service itself, and his ability to avail the services is more important than designing services itself. And also
Professor Gupta, I'm sorry for interrupting you, Professor Gupta, because of paucity of time. Could you please sum up your observations on this, your inputs on this? Yeah, because of since we have one more round to go, I'm extremely sorry for interrupting you in between, but because of paucity of time, and we have one more round to go, and we are indeed much grateful to you for sharing your wonderful inputs on this. And thank you so very much indeed. We are much grateful to you. We would now like to go to Sri Nagesh Shastriji. And sir, we would like to know that what are the steps initiated by NIC for accelerating the adoption of emerging technologies such as AI and blockchain in e-governance applications? Please, sir.
NIC has set up centers of excellence in artificial intelligence and blockchain, and along with the Center of Excellence in Data Analytics, which is set up along with the NICSI, these are playing a major role in accelerating the adoption of these technologies in e-governance application. But as Mrs. Ghosh has very rightly said, the technology is not for the sake of technology. So these centers of excellence also help in identifying the appropriate problems for introduction of these technologies and capacity building within the organization and conducting the POCs before they can be pushed to production. So these are some of the important steps. And as far as the artificial intelligence is concerned, we have developed face recognition services which are used in faceless services in the RTOs in Delhi, Karnataka, and other states also. Disbursement of pensions by identifying the beneficiary of the pension. Identification of objects such as toilet seats for beneficiaries of Swachh Bharat, and chatbots and voice bots. These are some of the applications of AI in e-governance application. Similarly, blockchain has been very extensively used for certificate verification and storing the certificates in blockchain. In Karnataka Education Board as well as CBSE, class 10 and class 12 certificates of nearly last 5 years have been pushed to the blockchain, and beginning this year in Karnataka, the universities, etc., they will be using for the blockchain for verification of the class 10 and class 12 mark sheets. And the COE in Karnataka has also developed a generic certificate chain, which can help in storing any document for that matter, whether it is birth certificate, caste certificate, income certificate, and using these certificates stored in the blockchain for verification by the appropriate authorities, maybe whether it is universities for higher education or for companies for verification of marks, etc., at the time of offering the employment to the individuals. So these are some of the initiatives which NIC has undertaken for promoting the use of emerging technologies.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shastri. And I would just like to make a very humble request. Since DELNET has its now nearly 7,600 institutions, it's an institutional libraries that we are networking. We would like to seek the expert advice from NIC and from you that how to implement AI and blockchain in institutions, especially AI in libraries, because this is what is happening in the West now. In US, the libraries do have now the AI technologies have been fully implemented. And we would like to seek some collaboration, some help from NIC in deploying this AI and blockchain among the institutions in the country, and especially also something to do on the library sector. So we would be, since Madam is here, so I would be requesting Madam to kindly help us out, help DELNET, and thereby helping the libraries in adopting these emergent technologies, and to ensure that we are able to do something also for the library sector. So thank you very much, Mr. Shastri, for this. And here I would like to request Nita Boma ma'am now ma'am, we would just like to know from you that NIC has developed several digital solutions for the judiciary, including e-courts, virtual courts, case information systems, National Judicial Data Grid, e-filing, etc. How are these digital solutions empowering the judiciary, lawyers, and people at large by enabling effective justice delivery? May we request you, ma'am, please.
Yes, Sangeeta. Before I go to this, I just also want to take this opportunity to acknowledge all my colleagues who have authored chapters into it. It was very important because most part of these chapters were written during COVID times. And during COVID times, as you know, because of the lockdowns and all, NIC officers was as much under pressure as the health workers, because we had to not only support government's communication, interaction, we also had to develop apps and systems, almost in a week's time, and sometimes, 48 hours deliver application, whether it is RT-PCR test, management, the hospitals. Then we came with this crisis of medicines not available, then fake medicines. I remember those days, and with all that pressure going on all through, they also, heeded to my request of finishing their chapters, and I still remember a few meetings. So thank you so much to all of them. We have a full chapter in the book on this e-courts part, and we actually feel very privileged to have this trust of judiciary across India to be doing the complete technology, to being their full technology partners, whether it is district courts, high courts, or Supreme Court. We have an e-committee in Supreme Court who guides us in this, and I'm really happy to tell you that there is a single piece of software which is operational for automation of 20,000 courts across the country. That means even the court at the district and sub-district level. And going forward, this journey has been very interesting, and I see every meeting we are taking some new decisions. So while we begin with initially cost list, that telling people that which case is there in which court kind of a thing, going forward to complete judgments and orders being available online. And today, even this all payment gateways have been connected. So earlier, for making any kind of a payment in the courts, you had to go to the courts, buy those stamp papers, and then only you could do. All that has been automated. But the best thing which came out of this, because of the single software, the data standards were all in place, we could very quickly build something called National Judicial Data Grid. Today, this National Judicial Data Grid has a compilation of 17 crore cases, which is happening in countries across all courts in the country, right from Supreme Court, High Court to even every district court. And in a real time, you can see what is happening, how many cases have been heard today, what is the order of pendency going on, which are the cases which are pending for let's say for 10 years or 20 years and 30. All this information, and this is not only has helped citizens in terms of getting their services, there are a lot of mobile apps have come. it has immensely helped judiciary, the senior judicial administration, to really monitor these pendencies and work towards reducing these pendencies. When the COVID came, Supreme Court passed a kind of a direction to me saying that now all hearings will happen on video conference, and I practically had no choice but to say yes, but it did happen. And so many critical cases, they could hear and do the adjournment during these lockdown periods using video conferencing services. And last, which happens is this virtual court, which is quite futuristic. I must say, there is only in few sectors in government we have been able to do, which is called virtual courts, where the need for citizen or the lawyer or the judge to go to the court has been completely eliminated. It has been recently, it's been there for 2 years now, led by Delhi High Court first, where all traffic challan cases as of today are being heard virtually. There is only one judge across whole of state who is responsible for adjourning these, attending to these cases. And the citizen, because if you're supposing their challan, where if you remember past, you have to go to the court for certain traffic offences and then say in front of the magistrate said that you agree to this thing and you're ready to pay. So all that has been now eliminated. No need of going to the court. Simply you online, you go, agree to whatever is the challan against you, make payment, and the case is settled. And you'll be happy to know, when we have such a huge pendency, 1.5 crore cases have been adjourned in these virtual courts across the country, and that I feel is very, very revolutionary. One more thing which has now happened, which we have been discussing for a long time, is e-filing of these cases. Now since the new set of generation of this millennial lawyers and all are joining into this legal services, they all generate their documents digitally. Then why should this copy of these printouts go to the court and then submit it physically with e-sign, digital sign? Why can't we make the whole thing digital, so that, and then the advantage is once you give physical copy, then court makes 20 copies out of it, then distributes to all all the people who are into that list, and so on, and the paper goes on. So to cut all that paper crap out, there's a complete system which we developed again during COVID times under the guidance of definitely Supreme Court. There's this e-filing system which makes, and it has been now implemented in few courts as a pilot is going on, where whole process, there's no need of any paper, no need of any print. So that way I feel judicial process has really come a long way and has really taken some remarkable decisions in terms of transforming the whole functioning of judiciary. Thank you.
Very much, ma'am. Thank you so much. And, and it's really so enlightening to hear about it, that how this e-justice is now getting delivered to the citizens of the country. It's the entire legal system is being now a virtual reality. Practically is happening, the virtual reality, what we have been thinking about and dreaming about, and NIC is playing, that very crucial role in making everyone to know how you can realize that virtual reality, what we have been dreaming about all the time. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you indeed. And now we are into the third round, the final round, and as we could see, we have hardly 15 minutes left for the discussions, and we have 6 of our distinguished panelists, and still 3 minutes per speaker. This is what I can make a very humble request on this in order to see that we can, keep our commitment with the time, and would like to straight away go to Mr. Chandrasekhar ji, sir. I just request you 3 minutes. And the question herein goes, you had a very close association with NIC during your stint at the Ministry of Information Technology. What strategies do you think NIC should adopt to meet the new challenges and leverage existing opportunities in the ecosystem? Over to you, sir.
I think NIC has played a pivotal role in e-governance in the country. The challenge is that the environment has been continuously changing. In the mid-1990s, there was no IT industry. Till mid-2005, it was focused on the external world. And 2005 till the mid-2015 or so, there was some. And now you have a whole lot of startups and new technologies. All of this means that the NIC strategy to be the pivot for e-governance in the country has to continuously keep evolving. And in my view, I think with all the experience behind them and all the knowledge of the government, it has to now move above and beyond just being an implementer of projects, enabler of projects, to become an enforcer of standards and protocols which are designed to enable integration across applications and domains, and be very choosy about which projects it actually gets into direct development, but play this foundational role. The second thing is it has to become an enabler of the projects rather than an implementer. So focusing on the overall e-governance technology architecture, making sure that that happens across projects. And what is happening today, what I see happening today is that this role, to some extent, to the extent that NIC is not playing it, is filled by various volunteers who are coming into different ministries from outside. They are not in an umbrella, in an organizational setup. And there are no well-established mechanisms how to deal with such volunteers, how to address conflict of interest issues, how to find an institutional solution. And NIC is the most obvious choice to play that role. But in order to fulfill it, it has to equip itself. And I think it requires a much higher level of technology capability, not less. A continuous upgradation of the skills and also new skills, not just technology skills, but skills involved in contracting, in legal and in business practices that are prevalent in the IT world. And therefore, having a little bit of movement of people from NIC into the private sector and vice versa, so that it can actually adopt such industry practices, but be the anchor for e-governance across government. So I think that, that in my view is how NIC needs to position itself in the new environment and the enormous opportunities that are coming with emerging technologies and with the capabilities of the startup ecosystem. But somebody has to hold all this together, and that a technology organization like NIC can do. So that's my take on how it needs to evolve.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much indeed for highlighting about the futuristic role of NIC, and we are much grateful, sir, to you. Now we would like to quickly go to Shri DP Nagendra Kumarji, and sir, for you, we would just like to know, for e-office, the digital office platform solution is currently being used by over 700 government entities across the countries. e-office has been implemented at CBIC on a large scale, connecting all the field offices in the country. Sir, how do you think such digital transformation within an organization help in increasing employees' productivity and helps the organizations to deliver quality services to its users? May we request you, sir?
Yeah, thank you. I think CBIC has over about 80,000 employees spread over 10,000 offices. And when we adopted the e-office solution provided by NIC somewhere in July 2020 amidst the COVID, I think there has been a transformation change insofar as internal processes were concerned. The e-office solution provided by NIC it is such an user-friendly application what has been provided to a government department. Of course, many department uses. Our sister board CBDT is adopting in this year. Now, when we talk about the e-office solution, what it basically does it, I think it has cut down a lot of inefficiency in terms of the delays which is to happen in the movement of the files. It also brings in certain amount of what do I say as an accountability aspect of it within the governance system. And when we talk about the e-office, virtually we have saw the complete one doing away with the manual system. The transformation was so quick, but it was so impressive in terms of its impact. Digitization of the old records, taking into the portal in the e-office, and the current work starting from the day one when we started with the e-office, the seamless integration of the scanned documents coming into in terms of the archive record which is required to be referred to, and also doing the current workflow, including writing a note or sending a correspondence, not only to the stakeholders inside the system, but also to the external departments. DG NIC has mentioned about the process of e-court system and filing of electronic appeals, and also that. She has been one of the members of the High Powered Committee, which the Supreme Court has constituted very recently, wherein the mandate of the High Powered Committee is to see exactly how the revenue appeals, the government is playing the role of a litigant and then filing an appeals. The mandate of the Supreme Court that we need to transform into completely an electronic filing of writs. Now, before we do that filing of appeals, a lot of internal processing happens, not only within the ministry, but also cutting across the ministry, like Department of Legal Affairs, the Central Agency Section, the Ministry of Law and Justice, the law officers, including Advocate General of India, etc., etc. While this interaction happens, communication, both within the system and outside the system, the seamless integration of the processes happening brings not only the efficiency, but also makes it much easier to work. Today, when I come to the office and work, even at this stage at working at the policy level, I think today we haven't seen a manual file happening, but for some of those representations may come from the industry, which cannot be converted and sent to a digitally for us. But believe it or not, we are completely into an automation 100%. Now that's a transformation change. Now, for example, talking about another product, what we are now trying to introduce as a part of the e-office is the e-HRMS. The entire HR management of the system in terms of providing the employee data, the leave information, the financial information with regard to entitlement increments, the training attended, the type of profiling with regard to service book, where all the service entries are made, including performance appraisal. The whole of the CBIC employees today, right from the top, the chairman to the lowest functionary, the performance appraisal is completely automated, and that is what brings in efficiency in terms of not only looking at the performance of the employee for their career advancement, but also it provides a robust information system as to where we need to look at it. When I open the e-office today, the e-office portal in my computer system not only talks about what is required for me from perspective of doing what my work is, but today it tells me about what is the training program which is being conducted by the IMF for a government employee. Where do I look at increasing my continuous learning process? What is a good practice happening with regard to the Swachhata Bharat campaign or about some of the government programs? It becomes an enabler for us to be not only engaged with our day-to-day work, it provides an information which keeps you connected with the world. And that's the great advantage for improving the internal efficiency. That's what I would say e-office has brought transformation change for CBIC. I think today when we look at the way we worked about 2 years back and today, we not only saved a lot of paper, tons of paper in protecting the environment, but it brought a different work culture altogether, reorienting our work culture. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you indeed, and for so nicely elaborating about this, and also showing us that how this paperless office is now being run. We've been talking about the paperless society, and yes, the paperless office that you have been able to achieve through this e-office applications, and also it's again adoption and adaptability by the employees, and they are using it. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing these wonderful insights about this application which is being adopted. Quickly, now we would like to go to Mrs. Devjani Ghosh, and madam, we would like to know that digital infrastructures such as broadband, mobile, data centers, and cloud is an important digital transformation component. How do you see the growth of this infrastructure in the country and its role in the empowerment of citizens and small enterprises? May we request you, ma'am.
I think empowerment, or rather, you cannot build a digital economy without the infrastructure. That's the short and sweet answer. This is a must do. You have to ensure that broadband exists, and not just exists, it goes to the last mile. It's just like you build an economy on physical infrastructure, you build a digital economy on digital infrastructure. So this is, for us, a must do. I think the only point I'd like to make is, in India, as we are thinking of digital infrastructure, we have to take into account the diversity of India and the need to ensure that our digital infrastructure supports people and places with low resources just as much as it supports people and places with high resources, be it great broadband connectivity, access to personalized devices. So, for example, when you're building for rural India, you might be thinking about, you might have to build in the need for lower bandwidth connectivity. You may have to build in the need for shared access to technology versus individual access. So I think we just have to think through and make inclusion a part of our design principles for innovation as we build out the infrastructure. But without the infrastructure, the economy can't grow.
Thank you very much, ma'am. This is a takeaway, from this panel discussion. And thank you very much indeed for sharing your wonderful opinion about this. Now we would like to go to Professor M.P. Gupta. And Professor Gupta, we would like to know from you that with the increasing reliance of the government on data to frame public welfare policies, and with the digital solution increasingly being used by the governments to address various issues, there is also requirement for the development of a skilled workforce. How are the academic institutes contributing to this requirement? As you belong to IIT Delhi, the most premier institution in the country, how do you feel? How are the academic institutions contributing to this requirement? Over to you, Professor Gupta.
I'll be very brief, as you said. So the growth of IT industry, as such, is testimony of how academic world has contributed to this growth. Look at data. 1999 and 2022, then the GDP contribution by IT industry was less than 1%. Today it is more than 8%. Then software export was $4 billion. Today it is more than $200 billion. Employee size around 3.4 lakh people now employ more than 40 lakh people. Export less than 5%. Export now more than 50%. We have here today, luckily, two presidents of NASSCOM, ex and current. I think they will vouch how academic world has contributed to IT industry. However, I also admit the limitation and weakness of our world, our world. We are slow into bringing changes required to curriculum as per practice world. We are less practice oriented community. Our research value is still not yet creating great value in the society. The other three main weaknesses I see. However, I pose a question to NASSCOM. Just because I'm seeing two great presidents sitting here. Where have you ever asked IIT or NIT what is the demand of IT industry and how they should address the demand of this industry by creating adequate curriculum, by creating research value that is needed by the IT industry? My recollection, it has never happened. I suggest at least you should call one meeting where NASSCOM and key people from NASSCOM and key R&D professionals or administrator of IIT and NIT should sit together and decide need of the industry and how academic world can play a role in coming next decade and 2 decades. Because looking at quantum computing, looking at 5G and beyond that, and we need to think something different. And this collaboration between academic world and industry is necessary, utmost necessity. Thank you so much for patience.
Thank you very much, Professor Gupta. Thank you so very much. And now we would like to approach Shri Nagesh Shastriji. Sir, we would like to know that successful implementation of applications with a large citizen interface requires a lot of planning and multiple teams working on these, such as cloud, data centers, network, cybersecurity, some of which may be multi-locational also. What are the challenges being encountered and key learnings while working on such large public digital systems? As you closely are the person at the helm of affairs, doing many of these. So we would like to hear from you that what are these challenges which are being encountered and what are the key learnings, that you are able to get, out of working on this large scale public digital portals. Over to you, sir.
Over the years, the application development and implementation have seen increasing challenges as far as deployment, etc. are concerned. And since they have moved from traditional client-server models to web-based application, security also has a very challenging aspect of these web-based applications. In NIC, we do have a specialized team working on security, mail and messaging, video conferencing, analysis of emerging threats and logs, etc. and also cloud and data centers. So our teams, whenever these kind of large applications are required to be deployed, they take the help of these specialized teams, and these specialized teams in turn become extended teams of those domain teams and help in various stages of deployment of the application. While the application is handled by the domain teams, the deployment, etc., is handled in association collaboration with these the core teams. So this is where we leverage on the domain knowledge and vast experience of these teams to deploy these applications. Coming to key learnings from successful implementation of large application development, the first and foremost is to spend adequate time on the drawing board to architect these applications well. This is the most important, and also document these architecture, because many of these applications require integration with multiple stakeholders, whether it is for verification of Aadhaar or PAN. Lot of interface is required with external stakeholders. So therefore, if the architecture is well documented, then it helps in implementation. Then also do elaborate load tests to handle the peak loads, because sometimes we tend to not anticipate what kind of peak load will be there. But if we do anticipate some kind of peak load and test the application thoroughly, then we are sure that we will not fail whenever the peak load comes. This is what we have done in case of large applications like PFMS, e-waybill, e-invoice. With suitable load testing, we are able to handle large loads, which normally happens, say, at the end of quarter or at the end of financial year. Also involve all the teams, which are the specialized teams, right from the beginning, and have regular interactions with them to update them about the kind of changes which are happening in the system, so that they are also not taken by surprise. For example, if we are carrying out the load tests, the involvement of security team is a must, because they should know that there is a load test going on. Otherwise, they may think that the load is coming from hackers or the ones who are trying to damage the system. So, and also have DR in shape and conduct the DC and DR drills on periodic basis to ensure their efficacy and see that they actually function when the need arises. Also, one of the important learnings what we have seen from rollout of e-waybill and e-invoice is to go for phase rollout of these large applications, whether we go of state or whether we take certain segments of the taxpayers. So these are the kind of steps we can take to ensure the applications are implemented in a proper manner and they do not fail when the peak load arises. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shastri. And I think it would be in fitness of things if we may think about, bringing out yet another publication, highlighting about the issues and challenges and also the key learnings and the best practices. And this will be of universal application. This would be of immense use to everyone, that whosoever, because what you have undergone this journey, what are the learning points and what all challenges and issues. I think it would be really good that if this can get documented, and perhaps, we would be very happy to have yet another, discussion when you have the next book comes out, and then we deliberate. And, because these are a number of organizations who are in the process of deploying, they will get benefited, out of the experiences. So thank you very much, Dr. Shastri, for sharing this with us. Now we are inching towards the last question of this panel discussion, the wonderful panel discussion that we have encountered in the last 2 hours. We would like to now approach Madam Nita Verma-ji. And Madam, the question for you is, in the recent times, especially due to COVID-19 pandemic, digital transformation has been at the core of every single organization, service, and operation. How is NIC positioned to fulfill this increasing demand of digital services across all the sectors? We look forward, ma'am, to hearing.
Thank you. Since paucity of time, let me really answer in terms of bullet points only. So first of all, we at NIC very well aware that we are a very lean organization, and we in no way alone can really cater to this exponential growth of digital transformation in the government. So we are basically working on 3 strategies. One is upping our value chain in terms of, we nowadays do not really prefer taking custom projects. We are building more and more products. In last 3 to 4 years, we've been able to build 10 world-class products for the digital government, which could be used by any entity in the government, be in center or state. And I'm really happy that each of these products has come to the level of where 600 to 700 organizations across the country are using. So that product chain, we have a lot of focus. We are actually telling our state centers, one state, one product has to come, which becomes a national product. And this has been a very satisfying journey. Second thing, we've started building few platforms, like developing a website for any organization, modifying is a routine request which comes, and we've seen how everybody suffers. So we have now come up with a platform called SWAS, on which the whole website could be generated on its own, and not only generated, it is automatically security audited. It is already compliant to all government standards like accessibility and all those things. So earlier, which used to take 6 months to 2 months to do a website, it now takes only 2 days, and that 2 departments can handle themselves. They do not need our help. Everything happens on its own. And today, around 1100 websites of the government are already powered using this thing, and we are going to make it more popular so that large-scale transformation very easily can happen. Third, we have this platform which has recently won an international award at the UN level. Is called Service Plus. It's a low-code, no-code platform where if you want to make any service live, you do not have to actually write any code. You go, there are already templates available for designing a form. There is a template for Aadhaar authentication. There's a template for payment gateway. There is a template for taking feedback. You just assemble those pieces by only moving your mouse, and your service gets ready. Around 3,000 services using this platform are already working, which is being used in various states. So states are finding it very easy nowadays, because they have to simply use this platform, and any service to citizen they can bring. So now we are focusing. And the third thing, we also know there is still a need of lot of custom projects. So we are, as was suggested by Chandrasekhar sir also, we are already taking up this kind of initiative of becoming a program manager or a product manager, or so to say a strategic control of the project, because in normal contracts with industry, it moves every 5 years, there is a change has to happen. So somebody has to have this complete control so that all these transitions are smooth from one to other. And also somebody has to see now with these new requirements coming of data sovereignty and data protection, those compliances are happening, that enforcing and enabling kind of a role. And definitely I agree, not only we need to train our people on the new technology, which we have done through our own skilling platform. I think a good job has been done, but it's always a work in progress. But now we have to train our people on program management, product management, and these kind of roles. So we have begun to do these things in the last 6 months or so, and we, I think, have to do. So I think with these three, I'm very confident we'll be able to this kind of a change in our orientation will definitely help us taking care of these new requirements emerging out of these new context. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you indeed, ma'am. And now quickly, we would like to make the floor open for questions. And because of paucity of time, we are sorry that we would not be able to get the questions in the audio, but you're most welcome. Post your questions quickly in the chat box, and we'll be more than happy to take these questions and to approach our distinguished speakers to answer to them. This is just a request, each one of you, if you have any questions, you can pose. Everyone is in great admiration of each of one of our speaker here who have so exhaustively have spoken today on the theme of this panel discussion, that is citizen empowerment through digital transformation in government. I'm just trying to sift through the chat box messages, and they're all full of great admiration. Everyone greatly admiring, the deliberations that we have witnessed today. And we would just like to request our attendees that you are most welcome to forward your questions to us, and we will be in turn be very happy to forward that to our distinguished speakers. Because of paucity of time, we can't keep the floor open for much more time, as we are inching towards a closure of the wonderful panel discussion that we had. So it has been, on behalf of DELNET, I would like to express my very warm, sincere gratitude to all our distinguished speakers of this panel discussion. It has been a momentous day, undoubtedly, wherein we have spoken in such an exhaustive, enriching, and enlightening manner, all because of each one of you who have deliberately so wonderfully on the very central core theme, which holds a great significance to each one of us, and that is empowering the citizens, all of us feeling more empowered, more transformed after listening to each one of you holding such a great experience and what you have undergone this journey. We all are feeling as if we have also witnessed, we have undergone the same, we have seen it, and we greatly salute each one of you who have been at the helm of affairs in making what the entire country is so proud of. The world is looking at India, seeing how this magic has happened in this country and what has been, and you have given us a chance really to take a deep dive into that wonderful work which has been done. And we greatly admired and value the presence of each one of you. Thank you so very much. We can't really thank you enough for being such a memorable part of these deliberations today. On behalf of DELNET, we would like to present a very small memento. We really look forward to the time when we can invite each one of you in person at DELNET, and we would like to have yet another exhaustive discussions in person. Until that happens, let's continue and to have this wonderful connections to be there. On behalf of DELNET, firstly would like to request Sri R. Chandrasekhar sir to, sir, I'm just trying to keep it a little so that it takes the, it comes into the, and this we would feel truly honored to present it to you in person. And this is with great admiration and, warm gratitude to you, sir, for taking out time, being there, sharing, you really gasp for proper vocabulary at times. What you really mean, you're not able to express it. And I'm feeling it right now, that moment. So it has been a great honor, sir. Thank you so much. And with great sense of gratitude, this is for you, sir, for being there, for gracing this occasion, and has been truly a blessing to have you with us today. Thank you so very much, sir. Thank you indeed. Would like to present a memento. It's not the same elephant. It's not the same memento. It is, I can't zoom it. That's the only thing, but this does have. This is for Sri D.P. Nagendra Kumarji. This is for you. Great admiration, sir. Great work that you are doing. And it has truly been a great blessing to have you with us. And we really feel overwhelmed, with the kind of a support. I know that how busy you have been, and all of us are knowing about it, but you have been able to spare time, gracing it for 2 hours. We know that what it really means, for you. And we really have got touched, with your very kind gesture in gracing this occasion today. This is for you, sir, with great gratitude and, admiration for you. Would like to request, we are not able to see Mrs. Ghosh in this frame right now. I think, has she logged out? I'm not able to see Mrs. Ghosh, but she has deliberated so wonderfully, and so this is for you. And this would be on the way to NESCOM to get it delivered to Madam. And this is for her great efforts in being there with us. I have a very special privilege and feel truly honored. And this is for you, madam. This is for no one else. A very, very special Dr. Neeta Vermaji. We hold you, ma'am, in great admiration, in great respect. And also let me have this opportunity to tell and to convey how grateful we always remain to NIC. It is beyond any expression. Right from the days of Dr. N. Sheshagiriji, DELNET would not have been able to come this far without the, unstinted support from NIC. And we hold you, ma'am, in great respect and admiration, and the immense support. It has been a timeless support that NIC has given to NIC. We remain indebted forever. And this is a small token of our very, very, it's boundless, ma'am. It's boundless. It cannot be captured, in words, no. And I think we need to develop the technologies, to measure the emotion. There's no technology which can do that. Yes. Much humble, ma'am, and truly honored. It's a great blessing to have you around. And this is also for all our colleagues at NIC who have been of a support that it's just what we always feel so indebted. And we really mean that, ma'am, to the core. Thank you so very much, ma'am, for being such a wonderful part of this wonderful journey, also of DELNET. And we are very proud to have you, with us all the time, and all our colleagues at NIC. And it is something which we always cherish, and will always be cherishing. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much. Would like to, it's indeed so wonderful. This is for the first time that I got this opportunity through this panel discussion, to have interacted with Sri Nagesh Shastri ji. And this is with great admiration for you, Dr. Shastri. Thank you so very much. And I'm going to write to you about the integration of AI. And so you would be receiving an email very, very shortly, because we are keen enough to bring in this, especially AI. Blockchain, definitely in the academic institutions, it would hold good. We have a huge number of academic institutions, but we are very much keen, especially deploying chatbot, for example, in the libraries. So it has been really a wonderful opportunity to have a new connection through this panel discussion today. And we have felt truly honored with your presence today. This is for you, and much grateful for your presence with us and for sharing such a great experience of yours and the wonderful work that you are doing. Much grateful to you, Dr. Shastri. We would like to present to Professor M.P. Gupta. Professor Gupta, a warm gratitude to you for being there with us. You have been traveling, you have been able to accommodate the request. You have preponed, all your coming back to Delhi to ensure that you are in the best of the environments to be there with us. We feel truly, truly grateful to you for all your support in being there. So this is for you, and thank you so very much. We are indeed much grateful to all our we have received a very overwhelming response to this panel discussion today. We have felt truly honored in having the presence of each one of our attendees. You have truly been the most inspiring and motivating factor, for organizing this panel discussion. And I would also like to convey my sincere thanks to our colleagues from NIC, especially the media team, and also many of other team members who have seen to it that we are able to hold this webinar in a very, very fulfilling manner. I also would like to thank, all our supporting staff colleagues also at DELNET, and my very special appreciation to my own colleague, Mr. Kushal Giri Goswami, who has been looking after, this entire webinar's conduct. Much grateful. And I also must convey, and with the folded hands, to the forces, seen or unseen. It's not only what we are seeing. We have seen it today through this panel discussion, not many invisible factor, the factor that we are not able to see, but it's happening, the things they happen. We don't know how this has been happening. We have seen how NIC at the backbone, that's the true backbone when we say the word backbone of the e-governance in India. Today we have got a glimpse. It's not full, you have seen a glimpse of what is that backbone really means and how this is truly transformed. This is more an evolution. It's not even a transform. There has to be a more better refined, terminology for it, because it's altogether a new evolution. It's altogether a new world that because of their efforts, because of the NIC's efforts, we have been able to see a new world, the world that all of us always desires to see around. We can dream about it, but we don't know how it has been happening. So, and we are much grateful to all those forces, those which are seeing, we are much grateful, and those which are even we are not able to see, we are much grateful to in making it sure that we have been able to organize this wonderful panel discussion today. We really look forward to having many more opportunities, and we are very keen to really invite each one of you in person. It would be a great honor for DELNET to host you at DELNET, to invite you over here, and to have yet another memorable day. And always at the core remains serving the society, serving those who are in need of something, and making their world more transformed, making their lives more transformed. And that's what serving humanity would always hold a great promise for each one of us. But from DELNET, once again, I would like to express our warm, sincere gratitude to each one of you for being there with us, taking out time, being there, gracing this occasion, and we are going to remember it forever. And also, we truly remain grateful to all of our attendees who have been able to join us today, not only from different nooks and parts of the country. We have the participations from nearly 8-9 countries. We had, including from SAARC countries, including from Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka. We had our colleagues from UAE who had joined. From Nigeria, we had our colleagues who have joined us today in this platform. We remain much grateful to all of you joining us from different time zones. So that's a timeless connection that we have been able to have with each one of you. And we really look forward to many more opportunities, even organizing together with NIC. I would like to convey to Madam that, ma'am, we would be really feel honored to have any future collaborative webinars, programs, in order to ensure that we are able to reach out to our institutions, especially the institutions, and making this technology more, to reach out through this technology to them. So once again, on behalf of DELNET, would like to express once again thank you so very much, and we always would cherish this wonderful deliberations that we have. Also would like to convey to all our attendees that we would be sharing with you the entire video recording. With the permission of all our distinguished experts, we would like to share the video recording of these, the entire 2 hours deliberations, and you are most welcome to, in turn, you can broadcast it among your own institution, among other peers, and we would be very happy that we are able to reach out to as many as possible and informing them, telling them that how this digital transformation has been happening, and they are very much an integral part of it. So we would truly feel honored enough to have many more opportunities to having all of you back again. And once again, we express our warm, sincere gratitude and thanks. And it has truly been a most memorable program being organized by DELNET. And this has been made possible all because of your immense support and cooperation, for which we remain ever grateful. So with this, we close our today's panel discussion, and we wish you all the very best, and we wish you that do stay informed, do stay connected, stay transformed, and do keep on making an impact of the lives of others to make the society a wonderful, contribute for the things that you always be the agent of that change that all of us wants to see around. Let's contribute in small, little, humble ways, and it would really give a more major, bigger, impact on the society for which all of us really feels blessed to be a part of it. So let's take a pledge through this platform, through this panel discussion, that we all will work together to make India proud as a digitally transformed nation, wherein the citizens are working together with the policymakers, with the government, in making India shine forever. Thank you very much. It has been a great honor and pleasure, and we remain grateful to each one of you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you indeed. Thank you very much. And thank you, one and all. Quickly would like to tell you at 6 o'clock, you will be receiving the certificate of participation at your email IDs, which have been registered. While opening that email, do remember that they have been given with great appreciation for each one of you for being a part of this memorable program today. Thank you very much. God bless you all. And it has truly been a great honor and pleasure in having each one of you with us today. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you.